Hey folks, MasakoX here. December is here, and we're well into our discussion and story about what could happen had Chi-Chi undertaken the road that Goku had taken in some shape or form. The idea that the Ox Princess would go down a different path in life and choose to emulate the love of her life and thusly learn a whole new skill set and outlook on said life to the one we got, which was mostly made to make fun of her and push her into the background. Well, not here and not today. Here, we're getting something far more compelling, making use of Dragon Ball's rich world and characters, and of course, plenty of action, which will get people hooked. If you're liking what we're doing so far, do leave a comment down below as well as press the like button. It'll be really appreciated. We need more people to see this! In the last part, we focused on what Chi-Chi got up to during the 3 years of training between the 21st and 22nd tournaments. Instead of going out simply into the world and living it like Roshi had intended, the sister of the hermit had other ideas. With the idea of one-upping him, Baba took Chi-Chi in and trained her in a different way to what Chi-Chi would have done out there in the wilderness on her own, aimless. But together with the young lass, Chi-Chi developed a special set of skills, an energy set, which harnessed her martial arts skills and powers with the combination of magic, the deep arcane pool, and her inner beast that was waiting to come out and was used for comedic purposes with her tantrums and flare-ups in the original, but here they can be used properly. Perhaps this might come into play with Gohan's powers in the future. Who knows? That's for later though. In the here and now, this was so helpful for Chi-Chi's headspace, and she felt utterly dominant. But a quick battle with the Triclops put paid to her delusions of grandeur, something of which Baba had overwhelmed her with, unlike her brother. However, things were looking bad, as Goku this time around is the one who is offed by Tambourine, which leaves Krillin and Chi-Chi as the ones to avenge their fallen friend. But can they do it? The scene was utterly bleak. Goku had fallen, a Dragon Ball had been stolen, and now there was a sign that one of Roshi's deadliest enemies was out there somewhere, or at least one of his agents was out there touting his teachings and visions. He hoped it was just some wild fanatic and not the true article. How could this happen if that were the case? He was supposed to have been sealed in a rice cooker away ages ago. Either way, they had to deal with it. Without further thought, Chi-Chi grabbed Krillin's hand and then Goku's power pole, calling out for Nimbus, who came for Chi-Chi. "We're gonna go stop that monster. You with me, Krillin?" Krillin was scared, but he couldn't sit by whilst his best friend's killer was on the loose. He nodded and took the Dragon Radar from Bulma before the pair of them set off after Tambourine. Meanwhile, Goku woke up after having suffered a splitting headache. But what he hadn't realized was that he was dead. When he stood up, he could see a giant desk and some rather large legs. He looked up and spotted a wrinkly green dude talking to the legs right by him. He couldn't make out what was being said, but just as soon as he had seen the exchange, the old green one turned away and left, but not before giving him a smile, a wry one, and then vanishing. Then a booming voice roared from on high.
"So, Son Goku, Kami tells me that you are rather special. Is that true?"
Goku tried to figure out what to say in response, but the voice replied for him.
"Well, it's very much against my better judgment, but the Guardian of Earth vouching for you is something I have never seen before. So, I'll roll with it, but on my terms."
Wait, what? Guardian of Earth? There was a Guardian? Was it that one that Korin had mentioned a while back? Kami? That name? But things were going so fast, Goku couldn't get a handle on anything. And I bet you're thinking at this point, does this mean that Goku's going to get training with King Kai right now? No. Far too soon, folks. Goku hasn't done enough for the good of Earth to warrant that just yet. Also, he is far too weak for it, and it would take him years right now to traverse Snake Way. So instead, Yama comes up with something a little more suitable, a little more grassroots, a compromise.
"You got 3 days, boyo. Use them well. All right, bring them in."
From around the corner, an old man walked through, sporting recognizable gowns and hat. It was Grandpa Gohan. Goku rushed over to him, hugging him, and was talking at 1,000,000 miles a minute. The old man tempered his adoptive son and explained the situation.
"King Yama has been so gracious to offer you a training regime suited to you. Come with me, boy, and I shall show you what's in store.
Before Goku could say thanks to the king, he was back in his regular routine of deeming which souls were worthy for salvation. It looked rather monotonous to Goku. Back on Earth, Chi-Chi and Krillin find Tambourine having regrouped and processing his victorious killing of Goku. Having been shocked by them finding him, he quickly regained his cool composure and stated that, oh, these two kids were no match for him. He had taken out the strongest fighter at the tournament, and more of them would soon perish thanks to this list he had. But despite this bravado, he was now, instead of fighting one tired person, two people this time around. And these two, they were far more rested than Goku was in the original, him having barely finished the fight with Ten Shinhan and not had much to eat. Chi-Chi and Krillin had more energy, and with extra rest comes extra beat-down ability. In this world, Tambourine is defeated on the first encounter, there and then, and Chi-Chi's magic fists and Krillin's anger putting pay to the son of King Piccolo, thusly saving the rest of the tournament combatants from certain death, since the list containing their names had now been evaporated thanks to the Kamehameha that Chi-Chi had used to finish Tambourine off. Having avenged their friend, things looked a little more hopeful. They retrieved the Dragon Ball and now figured out what to do next. But first, they needed to find food, and this is where they meet Yajirobe. This time around, Yajirobe is less cantankerous, since he is in the presence of a girl, but he isn't particularly nice either. He's just now suitably grouchy rather than downright rude. But in the fight for the fish, Chi-Chi demonstrates her enchanted attacks, and this throws Yajirobe for a 6, because she can just use telekinesis to float the fish away from him.
Okay, fine. No share with you punks.
Whew! Vengeance and dinner. That was a lucky day. It helped too when Symbol came a-knocking to pick up from Tambourine, and then he got eaten by Yajirobe, who had been left wanting after having to share his fish dinner with 2 kids. As a result, and also whilst the rest of the Dragon team gathered the other Dragon Balls, King Piccolo could sense 2 of his mutant Sprogs had died, and he couldn't sit idle anymore. He chose then to step in, despite his wish not being granted yet. And even though he was old and wrinkly, relatively weak, he could still show his force if necessary. He found Chi-Chi and Krillin, and was completely surprised as to how these 2 could kill his children.
Impossible. You are not as strong as Son Goku, and yet you failed my children. How?
Yajirobe was the answer, kinda, but he had hidden at the first sign of trouble. So much for his help then. This then led to the king fighting the pair of them, and despite Chi-Chi's magical powers, it wasn't enough to best him. But it did give him much more of a challenge than Goku's physical attacks alone. In the end, Piccolo was able to outlast the pair of them, getting the jump on them. He chose to leave them there, on the brink of death. Nature would take its course, and they can spend their last conscious moments ruining the day they got in his way. Him, of course, taking the Dragon Ball back that Tambourine had stolen. Meanwhile, in the other world, Goku and Grandpa Gohan came to where the training would take place. But Goku soon discovered that they weren't alone for this time together. There was another man there, white gi, white hair and a moustache.
This Goku is the master of my master, Mutaito.
The old man nodded and Goku shook hands with him.
You have 3 days to train with us, Son Goku, said Gohan. Each day, you will spend with one of us, learning our ways.
Goku nodded, but he was confused. Wait, 3 days? But there are only 2 of you. Gohan looked uneasy. How should he tell him that Roshi might be joining them soon after what was going down on Earth just now? But for now though, he ignored the question, distracting Goku with talks of Mutaito's great strength and might from bygone years. He would be the first one to train with Goku. And with that, Mutaito and Goku took to the other world, beginning their first day of training. Instantly, Goku knew that any gains he would make here would be potent once he got back to Earth. He could feel it. This otherworldly energy was something else. And after it was clear that King Piccolo was long gone, Yajirobe went over to check on the 2 kids. To his relief, they were breathing. Barely, but in no condition to carry on the fight. They had to get to Korin's tower, get some sensu beans if they could, if they were to stand any chance of being any use against King Piccolo. Yajirobe offered, because of his cowardice earlier, to go with them and help.
I gotta admit, you were pretty cool just now. I can't deny that.
Besides, It would be wise to be friends with tough folks if Piccolo's plan were to come to fruition. And just as well, too, because King Piccolo's plan did come to fruition. Shenron is summoned, his youth is restored, and he uses his powers then to destroy the dragon. In that same moment, Yajirobe uses his car, he has in a capsule, to drive Chi-Chi and Krillin to Korin's tower, and then the three begin their slow climb up to Whiskers the Wonder Cat. Sure enough, Roshi arrived in the other world after trying to fend off King Piccolo to see what had been going on. He had been instructed by Yema to follow one of his demon assistants to a special garden to where Goku was, and there, Roshi was reunited with his own master and friend, Gohan. Granted, he was sad that his efforts to seal Piccolo away had failed, but he soon realized what he could do here. From what he could see, Mutayato had been giving Goku a rough time, but the kid was taking it all in his stride. After all, thanks to the mysterious ways of the other world, Roshi would become clear to these later, you could never tire. Or at least, not in the mortal sense. They could keep fighting, for as long as they wanted. Fatigue was but a construct.
Good to see you, Master,
said a calm Gohan.
Likewise, my friend. Do you think this will work?
Roshi said with caution.
Once he returns to Earth, he will be a different man.
Roshi then explained that most likely the Dragon Balls would be gone, but in the here and now, that wasn't important. They had to make use of the time that Yema had granted them. When Krillin and Chi-Chi get to the top with Yajirobe, Korin presents them with sensu beans, thankfully, to recover their strength. But he then tells them that even though their powers are far more potent than ever, these beans won't be enough to stop King Piccolo down below. They would have to go on a journey to find the Ultra Divine Water if they were to stand any chance, especially since Goku was dead. But Korin could sense that at least Chi-Chi was not scared of this, despite then finding out that if you were not worthy, this water would kill you. Horribly. This did scare the other two, but they couldn't back down now, and so they went reluctantly off with Chi-Chi on their mission to sup this mystical fluid. Now, during this mission, Krillin and Chi-Chi got to know each other rather well, see the good and bad sides of one another in a time of conflict. Don't worry, this wasn't enough to deviate Chi-Chi from her prize in Goku, but it certainly made her a new lifelong friend. This wasn't fleeting, and Krillin, he was glad to have her as an ally and friend too. And Yajirobe, yeah, they were grateful for his help, but his constant complaining just made it hard for them to describe him as anything more than an acquaintance. In the end, they meet Darkness herself, and she, yes, the Darkness in Dragon Ball is a woman, invites all three to drink the water. Yajirobe is lucky to survive the acrid and suffocating effects of it, but the other two survive, after hours of extreme pain and anguish though. But they live. The Darkness can observe some rather interesting phenomena with Chi-Chi in particular, her magic traits flaring up rather often, as if the water was stoking her inner aura. Child, the Darkness muttered, as it otherwise sat there silently as the duo struggled to stay alive. What is this power you possess? Chi-Chi spluttered to the Darkness that she had trained with the witch known as Baba. I see. This test has not been done by those who wield both fist and fire. I do hope you live and not succumb to demonic suffering. This unsettled Chi-Chi a bit, but she couldn't give up. Hours later, the effects subsided, and the three of them were free to go, the Darkness having long since departed. Yajirobe had sat there watching the pair of them in excruciating pain. He had only had one drop of the stuff, and his effects were less lengthy. He had to sit there, though, and watch, and to him, this was a wake-up call. He should probably complain less. He had it easy in comparison to these tweens. He helped them out of the illusion, and Korin could tell that the two of them had improved vastly. You big guy, you might want to sit this one out. You did well to live, but these two got way more on you. Yajirobe didn't need telling twice. He wished the pair good luck and promptly sat down up on Korin's tower to recover from his harrowing night of no sleep. When the pair arrived back on Earth, they had come down to a beleaguered Tenshinhan, who'd been valiantly trying to defend from the much younger King Piccolo. But he could tell that these two were far stronger than even just a few days ago. They had been through a lot, especially after having had another bean for their troubles and lack of sleep. King Piccolo, though, was not in the least bit concerned. He'd fought them before, and whilst they had fought well, they couldn't beat him now, not after him gaining his youth again. However, upon the fight beginning, he was found to be very wrong. These two, fully energized, eyes on the prize, and out for blood, It was all too much. Chi-Chi's magical attacks had been taken to another level because of the darkness's test, and she believed in a thing called love as well, just listening to the rhythm of her heart. There's a chance they can make it now. The desire to bring Goku back, to save the world, to show this demon a thing or two, it was both in their favor. Together, with a double Kamehameha, they managed to bring Piccolo down, or at least greatly wound him. He was still able though to fight, but with that buoying them up, the beatdown was immense. King Piccolo here was terrified. Why did he not kill these two earlier when he had the chance? He knew that he couldn't face these two and win now. The girl especially. Those powers, those demonic forces within her, the force of a raging bull. It was formidable. When it came to it, he flew up into the air to get some distance between him and them, and produce an egg, shooting it far away, so that at least some part of him would live, as he knew personally he would not. Chi-Chi and Krillin fired again, vaporizing the king. He was gone, and the world was saved. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? What will happen now to fix the damage the king had done? Will Goku want to come back and interrupt his otherworldly training? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later!